really historic day, and important progress is being made here in the state of Rhode Island. And we're very proud of the leadership that has brought this to the table, right? Not only with Rep. Knight, Senator Palma, Speaker, President Lawson, as others that are really have made this happen, right? And also certainly a recognition of Moms Demand Action. I want to thank Angela and the Executive Director for flying in today. We're glad to have you in Rhode Island, so give Angela a little recognition, a little Rhode Island love, you know? And of course, the team at every town as well is here. We got, the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. I want to recognize Pat Crowley and the AFL-CIO for its advocacy in this issue as well. So the General Assembly really has stepped up over the last few years. I've had the, certainly the position where I could be an advocate as well on behalf of what we're talking about here today. But it's the General Assembly that has actually led the charge and brought bills to my desk to make this happen. And we've raised the legal age to purchase firearms. This is just kind of a little reminder of the work that's being done by the advocacy groups that are helping Rhode Island become safer and safer. We've banned large capacity magazines. Yeah, we like that one. You know, we've stopped people from buying guns from someone else who is illegally prohibited from having one. And we made sure only law enforcement officers can carry a firearm on a school property. We prohibited open carry of a loaded rifle or shotgun in public. And we've mandated the safe storage of firearms so guns don't end up in the wrong hands and for the wrong reasons. So throughout my time as governor, a lot has happened. But again, it doesn't happen without the leadership that is sitting over here to my left. And I thank them. So give the General Assembly and the leadership due recognition as well. And I'm happy to be here with our Lieutenant Governor, Sabina Matos, along with our Treasurer, James Diosa. I know that all the general offices have been advocating in their own space. And so thank you for your leadership as well, Sabina and James. Your tireless and selfless efforts. This is a global thank you, right, to everyone in this room and beyond this room, not only on a national level, on a state level, on a local level, along with your compelling and often heartbreaking personal stories. And I say this in many forums. For people to share their stories is so important. And being willing and having the courage when you've been impacted by an issue like gun violence to step forward and share that story, that's the reason that we're here today, that leadership. So I want to thank everyone. This is progress today, and it will make Rhode Island safer for our families and for our neighbors. And I want to just continue to thank everyone that has brought us to this point today where I can sign a bill that I've asked a couple times in my State of the State address to bring to the table, right? So now I'd like to invite our Lieutenant Governor, Sabina Matos, to the and our Treasurer to the microphone. Thank you.
Good morning and congratulations. My main purpose to be here today is to say thank you. I want to thank all of the advocates because without you, this would not be possible. You show up every day, you advocated every day, and you got people elected in order to make sure that we make progress. So I want to thank you for doing that. The next round of thanks is going to be for the governor for taking the leadership early on, his commitment to including this legislation in the budget, to advocating for it. Thank you for your hard work and your commitment. To the speaker and the members of the House, thank you for making this a reality and for the work that you do, Rep. 9. And I have special thank you for President Val Lawson. Thank you because you made it happen. Not many of us have had in that position or leading a chamber that has different opinions in getting things done, even when there's different opinions, and you did it. So thank you, Senator, President Lawson, for your delivery, as well as the sponsor, Senator De Palma. Thank you for the work that you did. And Angela, welcome back to Rhode Island. Angela and Melissa, you know that we're committed to working with you until we make Rhode Island safe from gun violence. So thank you. Treasurer Diaz?
Well, good morning. Good morning. What a great day it is to be here. I think it's important to say thank you. It's good to see all of you, the advocates. More importantly, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, it's important to really reflect and appreciate the leadership of our governor, our Senate President, and our Speaker in both chambers for making this a priority this year. But outside of that, we have to also understand that this is a pivotal moment for the state of Rhode Island. And as we all know, and as I've seen it firsthand in my own community, any gun violence destroys families, it disrupts communities, it also leaves voids that are irreplaceable. And I want to thank all of you for continuing to champion this, and more importantly, for putting your hearts and doing what is right. So thank you to all of you. Big round of applause. And this bill will limit the access to these assault weapons, but more importantly, it will prevent tragedies, because it does just that. And this is a good bill. And as a father of two, I can't thank you enough. And I appreciate all what you do today. It's my honor now to introduce the Speaker and the Senate President.
Thank you, Treasurer. Thank everyone who's here today for their incredible hard work. As you know, all of you know that passing gun legislation is never easy. It doesn't happen automatically. It happens with a lot of hard work from a lot of people, many in the room today. I certainly want to recognize my Majority Leader, Chris Blazajewski, who's been by me. Absolutely, well-deserved. If it wasn't for Chris Blazajewski and myself going down to committee and exercising our ex officio status, we would not have a magazine ban today. So, Chris, thank you for all you do. Thank you for what we've accomplished in the House on gun legislation since we took over. Thank you. I want to recognize Representative Tanzi, who's been a big advocate for a long time. I see former Representative Marcia Rangwell, who also was a big advocate as well. And of course, there's Jen Boylan, who got elected in large part through a lot of help here. And Jen did not get a gun bill this year, but she got a really good crime bill this year. Congratulations. Thank you for your hard work. And of course, you know, I haven't said anything about him, but until now, but of course, Jason Knight. Jason has worked. Yeah. Jason has worked incredibly hard and effective. He worked with our senior staff, Nicole McCartney, Danica Iacor, over 100 hours, top-notch legal work, working with the Attorney General. I don't know if he's here today, but I want to thank him for his advocacy as well, too. These things, we research them very strongly, very detailed. We make sure they can withstand a constitutional challenge. Jason was phenomenal. And Jason, you were correct. You were correct. This bill does not belong in the budget. This bill belonged, and it's a very important issue, as a standalone legislation, and the votes prove that, and what we have here today. And I really want to thank my counterpart in the Senate, Val Lawson, who is not, it's not easy These gun bills create a lot of passion, a lot of people, but she was able to do a phenomenal job and get a good piece of legislation here today so that Governor can sign this legislation. Val, thank you very much. It takes a team effort, and that's what we have today. You see the product of hard work by a lot of people, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend, the Senate President, Val Lawson. Thank you. Good job.
Good morning. The bill being signed here today represents the most significant gun legislation to ever come before the General Assembly. And as mentioned earlier, it's a product of many months of hard work, years in the making. And I want to begin by thanking Chairman Lou Palma. His advocacy on this issue, along with Representative Knight, has been outstanding. Thank you, Chairman and Representative, for your dedication. I'd also like to express my appreciation for Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Matt LaMountain and members of the committee. Matt's way in the back, but he really should be up front. And I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Vice Chairman of the Judiciary, Chairman Mark McKee. Thank you for joining us in your advocacy. I am very grateful for the thorough, deliberate, and professional process that Chairman LaMountain stewarded this bill through that committee. And I'd also like to recognize and thank Majority Leader Frank Chacon, who worked with me and many others to get this bill across the finish line. It wasn't an easy process, it wasn't guaranteed success, but I'm grateful to all of my colleagues. And there are many others I'd like to include. I'd like to thank the Speaker, who's been a great partner to me since I've become Senate President and throughout this process. The Governor, the Attorney General, all of the advocates in the room who really make all of this happen. Your voice, your tenacity, your commitment to the process drives good legislation. And I'd also like to take a moment and thank my staff in the back. I especially want to thank John Fleming, Mike DeAngelis, Joe Messino, Kyla Pecchio, who did a tremendous amount of work on this, as well as Stephen Hayes. They deserve a lot of credit. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank Greg Pierre, who's always with us along the way and through this process. But the bottom line today is I'm so grateful to be here, ecstatic, and we're taking a powerful step to take weapons of war off the streets and make our communities safer. And as a former educator and as a Rhode Islander, it means a great deal to me, as I know it means to all of you today. And I want to just thank you for all being here. And I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing Chairman DePalma and Representative Knight, the true heroes today.
Well, good morning, everyone. My goodness. My goodness. I want to acknowledge my colleagues in government, for sure. The Speaker, the leader over here, Chris Blazewski, as well as President Lawson, and all the senators and representatives who are in the room, along with the staff who contributed to this outcome. It is a team effort, and nobody does anything in politics by themselves, and I'm very grateful. But more importantly, I want to acknowledge the advocates, and in particular, the survivors of gun violence who are here with us today. I don't want to lose the import of this at this moment. It has been a long slog, and for some of those who have been affected by gun violence in particular, it's a long slog because it all brings up a bunch of memories, and I cannot begin to express myself adequately with words, the gratitude I have for everyone in this room who knocked doors, gave money, showed up at committee hearings, lobbied on those lobby days in those hot chambers, particularly in May and June. went up to legislators and said, can I talk to you about this, and dealt with the legislators being like, again, you know, that kind of thing. There's so many lessons in this process that we can take away to say, this is what successful popular action looks like. The advocates did not give up. You went out and knocked doors and campaigned, and when I got here, that room, the House of Representatives and the Senate, had a lot more NRA A+ rated legislators in there that are not there anymore, because you went out, you found candidates, you ran them, and those candidates won. And that's important. And for our elected officials who are in the room, I think today there's a lot of lessons to be drawn from today as well, because the ones who are here and the ones that you put in the seats, they listened. I got to tell you, one time, there's a quick story. I was with a progressive candidate who didn't get who didn't make office, but he said to me, we were talking about an important issue. It wasn't guns, it was something else. And I said, geez, I don't know what I'm going to do on this, because I really want to sort of feel where the district's at so that we represent the majority of people when I make this vote. And that person said to me, you don't have to worry about that. Just do what the people who turn out and vote for you do, which is 100% the wrong answer for an elected official. The right answer is to do what's best for your constituents and follow their voices. And on an important issue like this, where the voice was so clear, be on their side. And everyone did that today, which I'm very, very grateful for. So there's a lot of talking, but I'll just leave you with this. The other day, I listened to an interview with the new Congresswoman from Delaware, Sarah McBride, who was talking about, of all things, Nixon's retirement, right, when he quit office. But she drew a parallel. She says, often in public life, the hardest things seem impossible until they're inevitable, which is what happened here today. This process, the result that we're celebrating here today, restores my faith in democracy, that we can, in fact, in a terribly, terribly imperfect and aggravating system sometimes, get it done. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Treasurer, thanks for your leadership with this. Clearly, Senate President Wilson, thank you for your leadership here, especially given the transition and what she was able to accomplish, and clearly the Speaker and others. Besides the names of my wife, my 2 daughters, sons-in-law once in a while, and my 5 grandkids, there are 3 words that I use all the time. As an engineer, they're my most favorite words of facts, data, and context. So let's talk about that just briefly. What are the facts? You folks got it done. You folks got it done. Your perseverance over the years, and for some have been in the General Assembly too long, for some maybe not enough, for some maybe like to be here a little longer. Putting that aside, in my 17 years, we've passed 11 plus bills associated with gun safety and mental health. They go hand in hand. Heard the conversation with folks over the years. You're doing all this stuff with gun safety. What about the individuals who shouldn't be having them? Well, guess what? We put our money where our mouth is, or the taxpayers' money is where our mouth is, both state and federal, to address mental health. So we brought that together, right? Data, let's talk about data a little bit. 64% of Rhode Islanders, 64% of Rhode Islanders want a ban, as the Senate President says, these weapons of war, assault-style weapons. That's a fact. 64% of Rhode Islanders. A scientific poll. We could talk about that later, not now, what a scientific poll is, and you can go look at all the data there. From a General Assembly perspective, another fact, the majority of our chambers wanted this. Their vote showed that that's in fact the case, right? So there's the data, right? We have facts, we have data. What's the context now? Context is we are here today to watch the governor sign, as he indicated, probably one of the most transformative, monumental gun safety bills in the state of Rhode Island. Not that the other ones weren't. This one clearly is. We're going to see the benefits of this clearly over time. Myself and Rep. Knight would meet every Friday with a group of folks from 11:30 to about 12:30, almost every Friday, sometimes twice a week, beginning in January, February timeframe. If we were to look back, say in January, about how we got here, we never could have predicted how we got here, the path it took. But as the Senate President indicated before, and others, we got here because that phrase, where there's a will, there's a way. There was a will. The leadership of the Senate President, our majority leader, the Speaker, Rep. Knight, as the Senate President mentioned before, Chairman LaMountain, thanks you for all your work, Chairman, in getting us to where we are. It came together. And I say to folks, somebody said, congratulations. I said, the only reason I'm here today, my name's the first name on the bill. That's the only reason I'm here today. My name happens to be the first name on the bill. We can't forget the vast number of members of the Senate who've been working on this issue for years. I do want to also recognize, I wouldn't say remember, but he's still with us. Recognize Senator Miller, who had championed this bill for many years. Thank you. I always say there's going to be a point in time where I'm going to write something down, and I take notes at all my hearings, and I have notes for 17 years of hearings. If you want to see some of them, come talk to me about it sometime. But to be able to capture and remember the process of how we got to where we did today is phenomenal. And one word got us here. One word. Leadership. Leadership got us here. Senate President, thank you. She made a point of, we're going to get this done. The Speaker said, we're going to get this done. Guess what? When the folks at the top speak, people rally around and say, let's figure out how to get there. I want to leave you with this. Last Saturday, we were home, and I got home a little later than some others, given I got to drive 45 minutes to get home. Well, Saturday morning, it wasn't Friday night anymore, but Saturday afternoon, and I really talked to my oldest grandson's 9. We talk about some things, not adult things need to talk about. He called me Gramps. Gramps, did you pass that? What happened to that assault weapons bill? Like, wow. I didn't talk to him about it. He said, what did you do about the assault weapons bill? We passed it. Gramps, that's good. Nobody needs those. On that, it's a great day today. Thank you. And I now want to invite up Angela Farrell Zabala, Executive Director of Moms in Demand Action.
Good morning, y'all. Come on, you can give me a little more than that. Good morning, y'all. So thank you. I am so excited to be here today with y'all. And excuse me, I have to, on my little tiny screen, so I'm going to be down here looking. My name's Angela, and I am so proud to be the Executive Director of Moms Demand Action. And along with Students Demand Action in Every Town for Gun Safety, we're the largest grassroots movement fighting to end gun violence across America. Moments like this are what breathe life into our movement when things feel hard. And what a powerful and overdue moment this is for Rhode Island and for the gun safety movement at large. We're getting this bill signed today because of the power of people. That's all you. Because moms and Students Demand Action volunteers, survivors, faith leaders, community advocates showed up over and over again to say, we deserve better than this. And today, that hard work is paying off. Passing a law that prohibits assault weapons in Rhode Island is not a small thing. This is a life-saving measure, y'all, a life-saving measure. This is how we prevent future mass shootings, like the ones that shattered communities in Uvalde, in Newtown, in Buffalo, Las Vegas, and Parkland. Each one made even more deadly by an assault weapon. And this is how we honor those lives already stolen by senseless, preventable gun violence, with action. In a time when so many state houses across this country are feeling gridlocked and more driven by extremism than ever, here in Rhode Island, you're showing the country something different. This is what it looks like when leaders come together to put public safety first. This is what it looks like when government works for the people. I want to shout out a few folks in particular who helped get this over the finish line. First, Governor McKee, thank you for bringing us all together today to mark this victory and for projecting that out with your State of the State. This was a priority for you, so thank you so much. Lieutenant Governor Matos and Treasurer Diosa, thank you so much for being steadfast champions for this movement. Speaker Shekarshi and Senate President Lawson, we couldn't have done this without your leadership. And we keep hearing this over and over again, but leadership is the key. Thank you so much. Thank you. And of course, to our tireless sponsors, Representative Knight and Senator Palma, thank you for your relentless push to do the right by Rhode Island communities. Throughout this process, you never gave up, and today, your work is making history. So thank you. It's important to remember that this win didn't happen overnight. It happened because of nearly a decade of organizing and advocacy by our movement and our partners here in Rhode Island. It happened because people were willing to do the slow, often unseen work, one conversation, one vote, one idea at a time. And it happened because people were willing to compromise. That's never easy, but it's how today's progress was made. And because of that progress, the state is safer. Our work isn't over, but this bill is a powerful reminder of what's possible when we come together and focus on what really matters, saving lives. Congratulations to everyone who worked on this bill and to all Rhode Island communities who are one step closer to living free from the fear of gun violence. That's a future we all deserve. Thank you so much. Thank you. And with that, I'd love to hand it over to an incredible leader, Executive Director Melissa Cardin, who is Executive Director of Rhode Island Communities Against Gun Violence. Thank you so much.
First and foremost, I want to thank Governor McKee for kicking off this legislative session, prioritizing the assault weapons ban by including it in your budget. While that wasn't ultimately the path that was taken, it highlighted this issue, and we're grateful to you for being a gun safety champion. I'd also like to thank the lead sponsors of the bill, Senator Palma and Representative Knight. They worked closely with the advocates, were always available to answer questions, attend meetings, and work in partnership to get this done. We're also grateful to the members of the House of Representatives who passed the first version of this bill, and to Senator Pam Loria, I don't know if she's here, but who never wavered in her resolve. She's a true gun safety champion. And thanks, of course, to Tony Moratini and all of the Rhode Island Moms Demand Action volunteers who stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Thank you to AG Peter Nerona and his staff, who we can count on to provide the best possible policy solutions when it comes to gun safety. Their partnership is invaluable, and we need them at the table when crafting this type of legislation that is crucial for public safety. While we didn't get the strongest bill possible, I think it's important to acknowledge the work of the survivors and volunteer advocates who have been persisting, working their tails off, showing up at hearings, sharing painful personal experiences, attending organizing meetings, developing relationships with their elected officials, staying at the State House until all hours of the night, giving testimony for 13 legislative sessions. Because we care about keeping our families and communities safe from gun violence. Because we never want what happened in Sandy Hook, Uvalde, Buffalo, Parkland, or any of the other communities that have been devastated by a mass shooting to happen here. Because we never want another family or workplace torn apart by a preventable loss. The survivors and the advocates are the heroes. For many of the past 12 years, we've stood alone in prioritizing this legislation, and we're grateful to the many partners who have stood up along the way to join us, from Rhode Island Kids Count to the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence, to the Rhode Island State Council of Churches, to the NEARI and the Rhode Island AFL-CIO. That's just naming a few. We know they'll continue to fight with us to make Rhode Island the safest in the country. A ban on sales of some of these weapons is certainly an achievement and represents forward momentum. It's progress, but we know that a true assault weapons ban includes an enforceable ban on possession as well. So the community conversation and our advocacy around assault weapons will continue. For today, let's celebrate the progress we've made. Thank you.
Governor, I love you. I love a bill sign.
Yes, well, you brought us here. You brought us here. Senator, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, as I sign here, I just want to, again, recognize the General Assembly, but the leadership of Rep. Knight and Senator Palma were critical on bringing us to this point, and I think we all can agree on that. So thank you so much for that leadership, along with the leadership that comes from the General Assembly. I can't sign a bill that's not passed. Right. So I'm happy to be here to sign. Yes, yeah. All right, Angela, where's Angela? Angela around here somewhere? Angela? She's right there. There you go. And I got one for the speaker too.
Melissa, right here.
Congratulations, Melissa, and I'll give it to Diana. And this is one for the speaker, so, Rep, please, is the speaker here? No, okay. All right, and then, we can hold it up.
Yes!
Okay, I think we're good.
Thank you so much.